Hello everyone, TLSG here, back again with another daily Marvel Snap video. So we gave the community about a little bit over 24 hours before releasing a deck that just completely counters Hitmonkey. And so Hitmonkey is just explosive amounts of power, but to do that you have to play a lot of cards onto the board. And what better way to stop people from playing a lot of cards onto the board than Sandman? And this version of Sandman was created by a user in my Discord, Christy, and they ran this deck to Infinite the last 2 seasons, a few small tweaks here and there. And I was running a similar version to this in my testing, and I decided to just go ahead and showcase their deck because they're a free-to-play player. They've hit Infinite for the last couple of seasons, and they've been really leaning into the Electro ramp for a little while now. I was running one without Goose and without Wave, and then leaning in on like Jubilee and a couple other consistency factors to try to make sure that I get Sandman onto the board, even if I don't actually draw Sandman. But this one I think is a little bit more consistent with the Goose blocking the Shuri plays. So it allows the Shuri play to happen, but they can't do a Red Skull. They can't do a lot of their big bursts of power into that lane. It has the Wave, which against the Hitmonkey deck is beautiful. A lot of times Wave is kind of a little bit of counterintuitive because you're allowing them to do their big play early while you do your big play. And so a lot of times they can outpace and outvalue if you Wave. Against Hitmonkey, that is completely opposite. Against Hitmonkey, it's running a lot of small things. So even if they have the option to drop any one card in their deck, it's usually not more impactful than the one that you can drop. And so there's a really fun playline in this deck built into the Wave, into an Arnim Zola, into an Odin, and that is going to restrict the opponent from playing more than one card every single turn from turn 3 onwards. And this is one of those that it's relatively low tempo, but if your opponent is playing one that wants a lot of turnover, a lot of cards, a lot of just actions each turn, it's going to really hamstring them. And the way that you do it is the Wave, you Arnim Zola the Wave, and then you hit Odin into the Arnim Zola lane, and that way you get 2 Odins on the board, 2 Waves on the board, and then on the last turn you can just look to do whatever big impact play you have left. And then, so it's like a pseudo Sandman. Beautiful, beautiful combo, especially in this kind of like flood low stuff or low impact stuff, but flood a lot of it. And so the rest of the deck is a pretty standard Sandman ramp deck. It wants to run Electro Wave to cheat out a 5-cost card on turn 4, and then cheat out a 6-cost on 5 and 6. And so our most common play is going to be Wave or Electro into a Sandman on 4, into a Doctor Doom and an Odin. But we have a couple of other flexible play lines, so if we don't hit that ideal draw, those ideal cards, we still have a lot of ways to either disposition the opponent's stuff or reposition ours and just get enough sneaky power on the board to be able to find a way to win. And so with the brief deck explanation out of the way, we're going to go ahead and jump over into a couple of games. Sandman Ramp is one of those that's very strong, but it's not super dynamic. It doesn't feel incredible whenever you get a win. A lot of times you'll kind of sneak away wins and it just feels like, well, I guess I won, but you do that so consistently that overall it's strong. It just doesn't feel like you're blowing it out of the water like whenever you were running Thanos before and putting up 7 billion power. This one, it's looking to just put a consistent amount of power and a very consistent amount of disruption onto the opponent. And so now with the brief deck explanation out of the way, if you want to see more of this deck or any of our other decks live, make sure to be following us on twitch.tv/TLSGSnap. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and jump over into a couple of games. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, next up we have the man, the myth, the myth. Next up we have the myth. The first location is a Teelan. Can't say that I missed it when it was gone. This is probably one of my least favorite locations, just because it just hurts you so much in the long run. I'm going to go ahead and play our Sunspot. We're going to curve into our Goose. We're going to try and get rid of as many cards from our hand as possible. Now, I think from playing Myth in the past, he typically was running a Shuri deck. And so Goose is pretty disruptive to Shuri. Now, I have started seeing some tech back in Arnim Zola, which can get around that Goose play, that Goose counter. Ooh, the Polaris to pull our Goose into mid also works, unfortunately. It works unfortunately well. Oh no. I mean, we get the Wave. We can then hit it with an Arnim Zola. We lock them down to 1 card per turn following, but I think that this list is fine by doing that. We don't necessarily hurt Shuri too much whenever we go through that process, so it is unfortunately what it is. Arnim Zola's not huge here. We could always do, I guess we could always do a Magneto, right? We could do Magneto. And then on the last turn, hit Magneto with an Arnim Zola. A super strange playline, but I think just strange enough that we're going to do it. So is this a Shuri now? No, it's a Captain Marvel. Interesting. So our Magneto does pull the Polaris. It's going to slingshot it back eventually, but we're not going to, I don't know. We now have Odin, which could have been used for the Arnim Zola. I don't know. This is wild. We're going to do the Arnim Zola. If they have Arrow, that's unfortunate. The She-Hulk, that is not going to do it for them. Wow. Super straightforward game, but that's what I find a lot of times with an Electro ramp deck is that it's just relatively very straightforward. Actually, no, I don't. Okay, Captain Marvel can't move. For a minute, my math wasn't mathing. Between the Polaris over to the left, I didn't know if Captain Marvel would be able to kind of curb that extra power and swing over there to win left and mid, and then we pulled Polaris into mid. So Polaris is a traveling man. Polaris has been all around the world. She should write a book about everything that she's seen. We're gonna go ahead and take the 2 cubes. Let's jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Pogger Chum. The first location is Plunder Castle. So if we end up doing wave on 5, we actually get an advantage because they won't be able to play a card directly there, and then we can put power there with our Dr. Doom. We also have Arnim Zola, which is pretty decent. So we can hit a Dr. Doom into an Arnim Zola to make sure we win Mojo World. I don't know. We don't know what Pogger Chum is playing, other than we see the Collector come down. We don't have, oh my gosh, we have 4 cards we could have played by this point, and we draw into none of them. How bad is that? How awful. Can we get a play? Okay, well, not the play we wanted, not the play we needed. My God, what an awful curve. Good Lord. Into Devil Dino, into Arnim Zola. Maybe we do it this way. Shang-Chi into Devil Dino, into Arnim Zola. We give up Mojo World and we're going to push for left and right. Because we're not going to win this lane, we're not going to have initiative going into the last turn. So it looks like a bounce deck. Now that they've kind of pushed things into full swing. Okay, it doesn't hit our Devil Dino. Now that they've pushed things into full swing, it looks like a bounce deck, but they haven't bounced anything yet. So really interesting. Let's go with the Devil Dino to the right. I think that they struggle playing into the left lane. So maybe we sneak out the left lane with just 3 power Shang-Chi. Not a great play line, probably not even a good one, but it's the only chance that we have. We could have also prioritized maybe Sandman here to make sure they couldn't flood on the last turn. That would have been beautiful. But they still have the lead here, so they will reveal first. I think their Angela gets above 9, so I think we're okay. We go with the old, reliable Arnim Zola in mid. I guess they could Shang-Chi here, and then they'd win. Well, we're going to send it. We're going to send it. We're not going to change our play line. We're going to keep it as is. Now, why do you have to snap on turn 6 like that? Why do you have to be that way? We're just hoping that they don't have Shang-Chi, that they're just greedy. Greedy. We're going to try it. We shouldn't stay, just because of how much extra risk it is now. We're risking 3 additional cubes to see the end of this play, to see their hand, to make sure that they have what they have. Okay, so demons. Okay, we can pass that. The Iceman, we will kill their Angela in the right lane, and that should be enough to swing that location. We should be able to win the left lane with just Shang-Chi. We win the right lane with a sneaky Shang-Chi in the right. Oh, that's enough Marvel Snap for me today, guys. Oh, man. All right, so we will take the 4 cubes. Let's go ahead and take them and jump over into the next one. Wow. So we're matching against this is I played on my main account earlier to get some footage for, I don't know if I've released it yet or not. It's a Bast Patriot list. And I matched against Jeff twice in the span of like 10 games. And now my alternate account is matching into him too. What in the world Oh man. Well, so we're gonna try it. He ran a Bast, so Sandman is gonna be beautiful here. Teelan. I think a Teelan is my least favorite location by far. It's just so frustrating. It's just so frustrating to play into a Teelan, because then you have to flood your cards out early. You don't know what you're going to get back in return. It's just, it doesn't, like, even if you win, it's kind of frustrating to play into. So he does go ahead and curve his Hitmonkey onto the board. That way he has it. So if he beast bounces it back in, he gets a little bit of benefit there. Let's wave. Knowing that he's running a flood deck, I think we wave into an Arnim Zola into a Dr. Doom on the last turn. It's not a huge amount of power, but it is a lot of disruption for a deck that wants to play cards every single turn. We'll take the 1 cube. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Fuel. The first location is Avengers Compound, so I'm actually going to play into one of the other lanes. Oh, and they have Bast. So Sandman. If we can find Sandman, that's all we need. That is all we need at this point. The Collapsed Mine is not terrible for us. It kind of forces them to skipping a turn. And since we have Sunspot on the board, we will be able to kind of retain some of that tempo that we're losing by skipping here. And so we're really looking for Electro, Wave. Of course, we want Sandman as well. But being able to curve that out early is ideal. And if we get Wave, then... if we get Wave, speaking of Wave, if we get Wave, we can do Wave on 3, Arnim Zola on 4, Odin on 5, and it's going to make it very difficult for them to do really anything. We're not playing very many humans, so I don't want to snap into them, but at this point, looking at just a Bast, it looks like it is probably a flood deck. We're pretty confident that by restricting them to 1 card per turn, we can outpower them. With that being said, though, I don't want to snap because I don't want to scare them away. We're just facing probably 60-70% bots at this point, which is why I switched to my alternate account, thinking that this would be in better range. Same thing. We're still facing an awful lot of bots on this account. Less so than on our main account, but there are still bots. So we hit the wave with the Arnim Zola, a relatively low tempo play in general, but they doubled down with Moon Girl. So it could be one of the versions of the deck that wants to run a double Hitmonkey, and we're gonna make sure that they can't. If they're wanting to run a double Hitmonkey, that's unfortunate for them. Otherwise, if they double down on Devil Dino, maybe this is fine for them. But I mean, otherwise, we have the Odin that's gonna shoot over here and over here. And it's like a pseudo Sandman for them. We get quite a bit of tempo in mid and right, and they can only play 1 card per turn since turn 3, which is so incredibly restrictive. They do drop a Goose, but they're not going to be able to flood anything else here. So Devil Dino, Arrow. How do we want to play this? I don't know. The Magneto. I don't know that it does it. But I don't think they have a way to overpower what we already have on the board, and so we do get the retreat. So one of the kind of sneaky plays with this one, and the reason that I think it's a little bit more consistent than what you would typically think of with a Sandman deck, because you have 2 ways to lock down the opponent starting on turn 4, where they can only play 1 card per turn. So let's go ahead and take the 1 cube and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Hitman 47. And hopefully they don't have a hit out on us. We play our Sunspot to the left. We're gonna, over the course of the game, we should absorb enough so that it's a positive lane. Necrocia's Asteroid M in mid is interesting. I think right now, tentatively, what we're doing, depending on what the opponent has and what they're running, we have the wave into Arnim Zola line. One of my favorite lines, it's really low tempo, but depending on if they're wanting to flood a lot of small stuff, so aka bounce, it can be very, very detrimental to them. So they play a Lizard. It doesn't, now seeing the Lizard, I'm thinking Shuri. That's more in line with what we're thinking now, is the Shuri play. If we wave, then we don't really get much of an advantage other than playing our Sandman out early. Let's do the Electro. We're going to do Electro. Next turn, we'll do Sandman, because I expect, a Polaris. Interesting. Okay. So next turn, I expect the Shuri to come down. And then from there, it's a very straightforward, kind of linear. There's a few variations of it nowadays, but it's still, for the most part, very straightforward, very linear. Shuri into Red Skull Taskmaster, Shuri into Vision, and then something else, Shuri into Skip, into She-Hulk. There's a lot of ways to do it now. The Captain Marvel mixed in there sometimes. There's a lot of ways to do it. Not all of them are not all of them are great. Yeah. I wish that this right lane was not Strange Academy, because it makes it hard for us to angle in to try to do an Arnim Zola. So let's go ahead and I guess we play Devil Dino into the left. We don't have our Shang-Chi, so that's kind of a tough win. The Red Skull is fine. It's fine. Is it fine? I don't know. Probably not fine. We do get our Shang-Chi. So they can only play one card here. A Taskmaster, not going to do it for them. The Sandman is actually going to restrict them here. Unless they have an arrow to pull our Shang-Chi out of the Red Skull lane, then I think we're okay. We're in a good spot. So we're going to do this. We're going to soak enough with our Sunspot. So depending on where they play, actually, if they play the Taskmaster here, then this goes to a tiebreaker, and I think we lose at that point. That would probably be the heads-up play. Would be the Taskmaster mid. Vision mid is, I don't think the Vision mid is going to do it. I think we'll have enough of a lead that we win mid by enough. Yeah, we win left by 9, they win mid by 2. So we are able to hold it down versus the Shuri deck, which is a lot of times the harder matchup for this deck. Not that it's necessarily unfavored, I think it's very close. I think they're very close. So this one does run a couple of ways to counter that Shuri play. So it has Goose to make it restrictive where they can't play directly there. Of course, the Vision is able to kind of play around that a bit. We have the Shang-Chi. We could always do Shang-Chi early into an Arnim Zola to hit the other 2 lanes. A couple of flexible ways to play this one, but we are able to hold down the win. With that one, we are going to go ahead and end the video here. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give it a like and a comment down below. And as always, this has been TLSG. Later, guys.